Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I'll be going through and doing my 3.0 team reveal for SuperCoach. Yes, another one, but things have changed over the last little bit. I've been able to get a team that I'm pretty comfortable at the moment with, but also, yeah, I'm really just looking more towards the future now and how to rearrange some players so that I can get the best of the doubles, and we'll talk through that when we go through the team. You'll probably see a team that's very awfully similar to the part 2 team that we did. If I just bring that video up on my laptop here quickly, hopefully it doesn't play any sound for you guys. I don't think it will be, but so yeah, let me just see the team that I had originally. There's a couple of changes because of Prime Minister's 11. We've seen that, as well as in the bowling stocks as well, with some injury concerns. I can see pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 6 or so changes just from that team, and we'll go through that, I guess, now. So before we get into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So as you can see here, if I make this a little bit larger for you guys, that should be good. Quinton de Kock and Sam Whiteman have not changed at the moment. Sam Whiteman is probably going to be the guy, one of the last changes when I do that my final team review, with a couple days before the lockout. That'll be on the that'll probably be done on the Thursday, that team review there, with probably Whiteman gone by then, depending on some other of the rookie guys and how well they go. De Kock's always sort of stayed in there. He's sort of a way for me to get to short or someone else, especially because if you look at Quinton de Kock and you look at his fixtures, you see 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, and then a single, and then singles pretty much the way throughout. Whereas if you look at the Hurricanes, you'll see not the strikers. Sorry, they go for single, double. Singles all the way through. So I might personally just swap Quinton de Kock for the likes of a Matty Short around that point of round 4, round 5, or round 6, somewhere around that point. I reckon will be the point that I swap them, as he's had played most of his games by then and has a bye round 7, whereas the strikers only play 1, but they play the double in round 6, which will be crucial. So that's the thought behind that. Sam Whiteman, just hopefully you're just sort of looking for a guy that's certainty to play at 62.5k, and obviously you have Nielsen there, but I don't really trust Nielsen. He is really just not the best. So I've gone with Whiteman at the moment. There is a chance that something like a McDermott goes into the keeper's backup spot, and I grab the likes of a Wood or someone like that are 62.5k. Edwards is returning for Premier Cricket on the weekend as well, so potentially he's back from injury and firing. We'll see how he does. So there's about 3 or 4 guys that you have to look out for at that 62.5k range and just see if they're going to play. Then we move on to the batters, and I believe the batters are basically the same as what I had when I did the 2.0. I know that Munro was there, but just memory, top of my head, I believe Nessa was in there and McSweeney. So they have been replaced, I believe, on the bowlers front. I believe that most of the guys that I had that went out because of the Prime Minister's 11 in Renshaw, McSweeney, and also the likes of Nessa have all been replaced in the bowlers ranks, as you can see with sort of Stoinis, Zampa, Sutherland, etc. We'll get to them in a second. But Munro's pretty much always been in the side. It was only really Nessa, when Nessa went out of the Colin Monroe, he might not have actually been in the side originally to start, but he's always pretty much been in and around the debatable, sort of, because he has that triple and he's sort of needed at this point. He's probably going to be the Heat's highest scorer across the first 3 games. And I don't really want to run a loophole as well week 1, because I don't want to have a dead player at 40 odd K just sitting on the bench. So Munro's probably just going to have to be my captain score from game 1, which could put me behind a little bit, but I think the cash gem will get me ahead in the end, which is obviously a little bit risky having a captain play before a VC or anything, so you're sort of just locked in on that strategy, but I think it's best to get cash gen early. Maxwell, batter 2, he should be fine, honestly, and he's just been pumping out scores in the subcontinent. So hopefully he can return that form over to Australia and just do really well in the BBL. You've got Sam Billings, and he may be in a spot of bother in the first game just because of Khawaja and Labuschagne being there, which may mean he might bat 5, which could mean that could limit him to like a 50-point output game max. But as he gets like a 30 off 20 or something like that and a catch or two, which really is what's that, 60-point output or something, 65-point output at most. So he's really sort of limited by 20, 30 points potentially in the first game. But once we get to the second and third game, you could see him jump and easily put up a big score. But I think Colin Munro is going to be the guy that goes off for Brisbane. Then I have Paul Walter in at the moment, and this is just the triple game playing its part. My plan is, with the 20k that I have spare, is to effectively go in round 2, Richardson to short, and then Walter up to Jamie Overton. I think that will be the best plan. That'll give me 4 strikers players, as well as allowing me to grab potentially, if Connolly isn't the guy that fires, then we'll grab, say, like a Siddle if he's playing, or someone else like a Tanvir Sanger if he's got a low break even. You can basically break even hunt those guys. And then and you've even got, I'll potentially have like a Jack Wood as well, potentially instead of Whiteman. And I could potentially just have him and utilize his cash gen, as he's got a 60 break even. He might hit that in one game. And he might jump 40 or so K quite easily, and realizing that cash gem will be huge. So there's all sorts of options, but if I go with the extra strikers player on my bench, which you'll see in Manenti, which I think he will play now given that Rashid Khan's out, that'll help me in the long run, as I'll be able to stack. I'll basically be one player ahead, as I always want to have at least 4 guys on the double. So being one guy ahead on the double will always be helpful, as that's potentially 40 or so points per round that I can gain on others. And then Philippi here, he's just sort of like McDermott on the bench. Obviously he plays the double and McDermott plays the single, but Philippi is a past player of the year or something like that, or very close to, in the top 2 player of the year for a couple of years. So I think he can return back to that form, and that's potentially going to get him up towards that 180 or so K across the year. But he's just going to be that guy that sort of sits potentially on the bench, etc. And there's a potential loophole if he plays early in rounds. I haven't looked at who plays early in rounds. I know roughly who the doubles are, but not when they play in the round. Like if we go here and we just go a little bit out, because I need to see. The Sixers play early, but he's in the starting team. Sixers play late, so he might be a guy that you potentially could run a loophole with, playing him on field and then swapping him out late. Round 3, still they play pretty late. Round 4, their games are all one of the late ones, aren't they? Yeah, round 5 as well. Round 6, they got the early one, so in round 6 you could loophole him in some way, shape or form. Round 7, they play early again, and then round 8, they play early again in the round, and round 9, they play middle, back half the round. So yeah, I think there is certainly some value there in going Philippi, as I think he could enable you to gain 30, 40k, and potentially if you needed to trade him out, but he could be one that just gets going in the season and you don't sort of drop him, and he just continues to go up in value. On the bench here for the batters side of it, you've got McDermott, 88k. You just cannot pass up on an 88k guy, and hopefully McDermott can just be that sort of keeper that we all need, that just scores an average of 55 or so. Like if you look at his average from, I believe it's 2 years ago, 52 that year, and then the next year 73. I mean, if he gets back to 73 form, that'll be ridiculous, but even just 60 form, that's around that 180, 190k, I believe, is Sutherland. Richardson here played 7 games for an 80. Let's see, what did Sutherland play last year? 14 games for a 51. So you're probably looking around that 180 or so K for a McDermott, which would be 100k basically saved or generated if you want to look at it that way. And you're probably going to need 100 to 200k generated from your bench to get guys like I need to get probably Abbott from Stoinis, and also get probably from Walter all the way up to short, is basically all that this side probably needs across the whole year. and potentially like Mitch Marsh if he comes back or something like that. But there's not many other guys, or Tommy Rogers, etc. from some of the other guys. But there's not many guys more outside of this that are the perfect sort of players that are probably going to top score for the year, or top average for the year. So you're only looking at 250, 300k, I think I've been saying, around that marker for the whole preseason. That's around the range that you want to be at. So yeah, McDermott and Short can really provide value off the bench, being so low priced and being past players of the year, I believe, from memory. Then you have a big change here in bowlers ranks. I don't believe many of these batters were, as I said before, changes. De Kock wasn't, Whiteman was there, McDermott definitely was, Short I'm pretty sure was there or was talked about. Phillippe was there, Maxwell was there, I think Munro was there as well. I think just Walter and Billings are the two guys that have changed. Then we come to the bowlers, and you'll see that Abbott is not there anymore, and I've replaced him with Richardson, and that is solely just because Richardson is in massive amount of form. I think he took 4 for 20 odd and 30 odd with the bat and the shield, and that is the shield, but yeah, he's just in form, and there's also a plan behind it, because with the saviour of Rashid Khan going, well, I mean, Rashid Khan would have been the guy anyway. I would have gone on the bench instead of Overton or Menenti. But with Rashid Khan going, it's very likely that Menenti's going to play, and I basically had to have two players add up to around that 330k in value. And you'll see that Menenti at 76k and Jai Richardson at 247 gets you to what, 320 odd k, and I have 22k left in the bank, which will help me in the later run when I try and maximize my trades during round 2, 3, and 4, etc. But Richardson will just get me straight to Matt Short, basically, is the plan, and that'll get me my big strikers guy. And then Matt Short will most likely go to, if we go to around the round 3 teams, you'll see that I've got the likes of the Thunder. They play the double. Matt Short will probably go back down to Daniel Sams, and then I'll use probably a trade boost or something like that to get Matt Short back in the side, as he is going to be very, very useful. And they have the double. I will definitely be using a trade boost in round 6, as I need to be getting at that point, you need to have at least Richardson and Short in your side, and getting them both in with only 3 trades is going to be near on impossible, just because that's 480k, and you'd probably need, if you wanted to do it off 3 trades, probably Chowdhury as well, the 42k guy, so that would be 520k that you'd have to make up, and that's sort of 3 180k guys, which is going to be hard unless you had like a McDermott or someone else there that you could really cash gen off of, or get sort of realize that cash off of. So it's most likely that I'll use the 4th trade there. And then Tom Curran hasn't left the side. It was Abbott that left. I could get Abbott in, but I think the plan is to save that 20k, as I think they're both roughly the same, and I think just Abbott's a little bit out of form. So, I mean, I could swap these guys around, but it's basically who's going to play well in the first 2 games of the year, and I think Curran just has the better role in general. He's a spot or 2 higher in the batting order, and he's also, if I make this a little bit bigger for you guys, he's also, I guess, going to probably be bowling the better overs, in that he's going to be bowling probably the power surge as well as at the death, and I think he can easily take 3 or so. I think he can take 3 or 4 wickets in the first 2 games, which would be 60 to 80 points in itself, as well as get probably not an economy rate bonus as much as some of the other guys like the spinners, but get that huge dot ball bonus, as well as potentially getting 30 or 40 runs with the bat in 2 games off like 15, 20 balls, which could just generate 60 odd points in itself. So Tom Curran could easily get 100, 120 here, and I just think I think I'd need Abbott to be in a lot better form for him to be selected over Curran, especially with that 17k difference, which is roughly, I believe, 6 points differential there that you'd have to make up. So, yeah, I think I'm just wanting to go Curran at the moment, given his role and his form and given Abbott's sort of form slump, as well as the price difference. Then you have Will Sutherland, 158k. I think this is a really good ploy later on in the year. You'll see it. You won't see it as much in the first 2 game weeks, But in round 3, when you have that double for the two Melbourne sides, if we go to round 3 here, you'll see Melbourne here, and you have the strikers who are off, setting up and being able to get those Melbourne guys sort of off, already in there, will help me to move around the guys like, Matt Short will be at my disposal to be able to trade out, but I'll be able to get and really stack up probably 6 guys, and I'll probably look to stack the, they both play 1, who has the first bye? And then Stars play double again, so you'd probably then look to offload, you'd probably look to get into another Stars player, as well as probably another Renegades guy, potentially 2 Stars players and another 1 Renegades guy. But that's why I've set up in such a way that you'll see the bottom 3 bowlers in Sutherland, Zampa and Stoinis are set up in such a manner, because in round 3, you're really going to see the difference. And Sutherland, he's been on fire in the Shield and just really in form and seems undervalued as well. Zampa has been on fire in the One Day World Cup, and I know it's a different format, but still, as well as Sutherland, different format. It's just, you cannot sort of leave these guys out at the moment. And then Stoinis, we don't know his role. Looks like he's going to be back at bowling as well. So at 116k, that's what, if we look at Billings last year, he played 8 games for a 38. So a 38 for Stoinis, he's going to surely beat that, you'd think. If we look here at his 37.7 from 9 games, you'd think he'd beat that. And then you've got Menenti and Cooper Connolly on the bench. Menenti, as we discussed earlier, was just because I needed him and Richardson to match the 340-ish K or below. And Cooper Connolly bowled 10 overs in the Shield under Sam Whiteman, who will, I don't think, be the captain for Perth. But bowled 10 overs and opened the batting. There's potential there with Agar out as well. He might be the spinner. And him being the spinner and batting anywhere in the top 6, bowling 4 overs, having that all-rounder role for 70k, which is basically basement price. 70k, what did he... 2 games for 32. He's even averaged 32 last year and did well in the finals as well. 32 would place him around about that 95k anyway, and he's got a better role than last year. So just look forward to that and seeing him potentially average 40, and 40 would put him at a cash gen of probably 50 or so K. I think 40 would get you around that 120, wouldn't it? As 117 for about a 38. So 120, 125, somewhere around there, which would be 50k cash gen, and cashing that out in potentially round 8 or 9, and also potentially using Cooper Connolly on field when Perth have the doubles. Just could be good. So that pretty much sums up the team. I've had to make this a little short as my computer is about to die. But that is the team at the moment, and that's pretty much the video. So I'll see you guys in the next one, which will potentially be another career mode for cricket 24, or potentially some other stuff about trying to set up for the, like I've done with the Renegades, setting up and really realizing where your trades are going to be, etc. And having a vague idea, not having 100% being like, I'm going to trade in these 3 players, get rid of these 3 players, etc. Because that never really works. But knowing roughly the team that you want to trade for, trade out of, can be really, really crucial, as you're not just looking one at the current round or 1 round in the future. You got to look probably 4 rounds in the future, I'd say. 4 or 5 rounds in the future. So that pretty much wraps up the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.